Hey there, and welcome to our Airdrie real estate market year in review for 2023. I'm Brad Walker, your local Airdrie realtor, and in this video we're going to be looking back at 2023 and see what changes we saw in our market throughout the entire year, where we started and where we finished to enter here in 2024. Now be sure to subscribe to our channel, as our next video is going to be my Airdrie real estate market predictions for 2024. Where we're also going to look back at my 2023 predictions and see if I was close to the mark or if I was way off in last year on my predictions. Now for our year in review, we're going to look at the entire year as a whole, and then we're going to break it down quarter by quarter to see how the activity flowed throughout the year, and we're going to compare that to 2022. So starting off, for our entire year's worth of stats, here in 2023 we had a total of 1,869 sales here in Airdrie, which is down 24% from 2022, where we had 2,468 sales, and it's also down from our 2021 sales numbers as well. But 1,869 sales still puts us in the top 3 sales years we've ever seen in Airdrie. Now, of course, Airdrie is growing fast, so sales going up is going to be a natural byproduct of more people living in the city, so we can't just use sales to determine how the market was in any given year. Now looking at new listings, we saw 2,201 new listings within the year. This is also down 24% from 2022. So our sales and new listings went down in 2023 perfectly in unison, both down 24%. And now knowing our sales and new listings for the year, we can also figure out our sales to new listings ratio, which is one of the best ways to determine overall state of the market. Now this stat basically just says how many sales do we have for every new listing we saw. And anytime this number is below 0.6, usually means a buyer's market. 0.6 to 0.8 is usually going to be more of a balanced market feel, and above 0.8 would be a busier seller's market. And for 2023 as a whole, we had a sales to new listings ratio of 0.85 sales for every new listing, which puts us in a seller's market, but we already knew that. But what might be a bit more surprising, knowing that our sales came down in 2023, is that 0.85 is actually the exact same sales to new listing ratio we saw in 2022. Now I say surprising because 2022 is when we had the craziness with the $100,000 over list and all that, but the difference in 2023 is that our sales and new listings were a bit more spread out throughout the year, which you're going to see a little bit later in this video. Now moving on to the prices for the year, starting out with our overall benchmark price here in Airdrie and then moving into the different housing styles here in the city. Our overall benchmark price went up 9.7% in 2023, which is another big jump in our values for 1 year. We saw our overall prices go up 12.4% in 2022 and 12.9% in 2021. So at some point these numbers need to come back down to earth a little bit, I think. Do you think 2024 is going to be that year? I want you to comment your thoughts down below. I'd be really interested to hear what you think, since you're one of the people that watch this channel and are watching this year in review video right now. And then once you comment that, stay tuned for my next video with my 2024 predictions. All right, so now for pricing for each housing type here in Airdrie, starting with our detached homes, we saw prices here go up 10.5% from the beginning of the year to the end of year, and another big jump for our biggest housing category here in the city. Now moving on to those semi-detached homes, here we saw prices increase 11.9% throughout the year, so even a bit more than those detached homes. And then for the townhouses, here is where things got a bit crazy in 2023. The townhomes benchmark price is up 18% from the beginning of the year to the end. And lastly, our condos here in Airdrie, which we saw the biggest jump out of anything, are up a massive 26% in 2023 from the beginning to the end. Now I think we can all agree that these types of price increases aren't sustainable year after year after year. So let me know down below what you think is going to happen to our prices in 2024. All right, well that takes care of some of the full year stats. Now let's look quarter by quarter in 2023 and see how the market flowed throughout the year. So we're going to compare these numbers to 2022 to see how the years differed in their activity levels, even though both of them were definitely very much a seller's market. So of course, starting with Q1 in January, February, and March, we had 337 sales here in 2023. Now comparing this to 2022, this is down 58% from the 794 sales we had in the first quarter of 2022. Now moving on to quarter two, in 2023, we had 616 18 sales in April, May, and June, which is typically the busiest quarter of the year for our sales. And in Q2 of 2022, we had 832 sales. So in 2023, our sales made a big jump from Q1 to Q2, but in 2022, they stayed fairly even. So our 2023 numbers here definitely reflect a more typical flow in our market, going from the winter into the spring market, which usually takes up a big chunk of the sales. And you can see in 2022, we came out just guns blazing in Q1 and just had massive sales in those first two quarters. Now moving on to Q3, in 2023, we had 541 sales, which is just a slight drop from the previous quarter, which means that we had activity that was fairly strong throughout the whole summer last year. And if we look at the third quarter in 2022, we saw sales drop down quite a bit to just 500 sales in that third quarter. So halfway through the year, our 2023 is actually looking stronger than 2022 was. And on to the last quarter of the year, in 2023, we had 375 sales, which is a very typical slowdown for the winter for our sales. And in 2022, this dropped to 342 sales. So seeing all the sales for each quarter from both years on the screen now, you can see that 2022 had a lot stronger of a start than 2023 did, but 2023 held a lot stronger throughout the entire year and keeps those sales a bit more steady quarter to quarter. So what did that different activity flow through the year due to our price fluctuations throughout the year? Well, you know that we had some pretty big price increases here in 2023 that we already went over, but where in the year did most of them come from? Well, again, starting with Q1, here we had a price increase of 2.1% last year, which, knowing that the overall increase we had was about 10% in the year, this number makes sense. Now, if we look at Q1 in 2022, in that quarter, we saw a price increase of 13.3%. It was the biggest single quarter price increase we'd ever seen in Airdrie, and very well might ever see in Airdrie at all. Now, moving into the second quarter, in 2023, we saw a price increase slightly more than the first quarter of 4.3%, which you would expect knowing the seasonality of our market and moving into that spring market. And looking at 2022 in comparison, in the second quarter, we had a price increase of 5.8%. Not as insane as the first quarter, but still a very large gain for just 3 months. Now onto the back half of the year in Q3. In 2023 in this quarter, we saw a price increase of 2.4%. Not as much growth as Q2, but still pretty strong price movement for just a 3-month period. And for 2022 here in the third quarter, we actually saw prices go down 2.8% throughout the summer, which was definitely a big shift from the huge increases that we saw earlier in that year. And now on to our final quarter of the year. In 2023, we saw a price increase of 1.3% here in the last quarter. And in 2022, we again had another price decrease of 2.8% to finish the year off. So now looking at all these numbers on the screen now, you can really see how the market flowed throughout the year in terms of prices. Even though both were strong seller's market years, 2022 was a lot more volatile with some massive quarterly increases, but also seeing decreases in some of the quarters as well, compared to 2023 where we just saw steady price increases throughout the entire year. Now overall, it was a very strong year for real estate here in Airdrie in 2023. Now stay tuned for our next video in just a couple days where I'm going to lay out my predictions for our Airdrie real estate market in 2024. So be sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss that one. And again, my name is Brad Walker, your local Airdrie realtor, and we'll see you in the next video.